Hey kids, welcome to Sam's Toolbox. Today, we're going to learn about construction staplers. Now when I say stapler, you may be thinking about the kind that you use to put pieces of paper together. But these are just called office staplers. We're going to talk about construction staplers. These staplers are much bigger and they use huge staples to help us connect certain things when we're building. Now it's important to know that staples are never as strong as nails or screws, but there are certain jobs that we can do because we only need the strength of a stapler, and they're a lot easier. Now construction staplers shoot out a really sharp staple really fast, so we need to make sure that we have the proper safety equipment, including safety goggles, at all times. And always make sure that an adult is with you when you're using tools. So, let's learn about the different kind of construction staplers and how they work.
First, let's talk about how construction staplers work.
The main reason we use staplers is to shoot staples. And staples are U-shaped fasteners that help us connect things together. They come in tons of shapes and sizes. Most construction staplers are the same shape as a nail gun. Every stapler has three main parts: the handle, the trigger, and the magazine. The handle is where we place our hand to get a nice solid grip on the tool. The trigger is above the handle. We push nice and hard down on the trigger to make a staple shoot out of the staple gun. The magazine is the part of the stapler where we put the staples that we want to shoot. All we have to do is press a small button and the magazine comes out. Then we put the staples in the right direction. Once the staples are in, we close the magazine, and as we close it, springs will actually compress the staples. This spring is what pushes the staple forward as we shoot each staple. So let's take a look at all of the different staplers we can use around the construction site. Each stapler has its own job based on the tool size and the staple size. Now the first stapler is just what we call a construction stapler. These are the most common staplers to find and the easiest ones to use. They're so useful because they're small, they're easy to carry around, and they have a lot of power. The basic construction stapler uses small, thin staples, so we can only use it for light construction jobs. We usually don't use them to connect pieces of wood. Instead, they're kind of like a heavy-duty office stapler. We do jobs like adding water protection, closing packages, and fun crafting projects. Now this construction stapler is almost exactly the same, but it's a little bit bigger. It works the same as the last one,
But the staples are a little bigger.
and a little thicker. With this stapler, we can start to do things like lay carpet, and staple tiny pieces of wood together. The next stapler we're going to look at is called the Heavy Duty Multi-Tacker. Just by looking at it, you can see it's a big, beefy version of the basic construction stapler. But the Heavy Duty Multi-Tacker is different in a few ways. First, the magazine has a button that's really easy to use. Next, there's a switch under the trigger that lets us change the depth of the staple. Depth is exactly how deep we want the staple to go into our material. All we do is slide the switch to the plus sign to make the staples go deeper. The most important part about the heavy-duty multi-tacker is that it can shoot tons of kinds of staples. Staples are also known as tacks, so this tool shoots multiple tacks, and that's how it got its name. It can shoot small staples like the construction stapler, but it can also shoot bigger and thicker staples to help us connect things like wood, cabinets, and roofing felt. It can also shoot something called a brad, which is like a really thin nail. With so many staples or tacks that this stapler can shoot, it's the most useful stapler we can find. Now the next construction stapler doesn't look much like a stapler at all. This stapler is called a hammer stapler or a hammer tack. This stapler is so special because we swing it like a hammer so that we can shoot the staples. Every time this stapler hammers into something, it shoots a staple. That is why this tool is called a hammer tack. Hammer tacks are not as accurate because we can't just put them down, we actually have to swing them. So hammer tacks are usually used for special jobs, like adding house wrap or roof felt. Lots of times when we build a shed or a house, like this birdhouse that I'm building, there's a special waterproof material that goes underneath the roofing or the siding that you see on the outside of your house. That special material is added with lots and lots of staples. And that is why we use the hammer tack. The hammer tack lets us add lots of staples really, really fast, and it's really, really fun to use. Now the next stapler is called the cap hammer tack. And it's exactly the same as the hammer tack, but there's one huge difference. This special stapler shoots out a plastic cap at the same time as each staple. That means that every staple actually goes right through the middle of a plastic cap. We don't need to add the caps to roofing felt or to house wrap, but they help each staple to be weatherproof and watertight. The last stapler we're going to look at looks a lot different from the rest. This one is called a flooring stapler. You might have guessed it from the name that this stapler is used to install flooring. The flooring stapler has a really long magazine that lets us put extra long and extra heavy duty staples inside. It has a special attachment called a guide foot that helps us put staples exactly where we want them to go. It has a different trigger right here that we pull with our finger. And the most special part about the flooring stapler is this connector right here. Now this special connector lets us hook the flooring stapler to a separate tool using this hose. The hose is hooked to a tool called an air compressor. This thing right here. Now this tool holds compressed air. Compressed air is like we took all the air in this room right now and shrunk it into this tiny little box. When we shrink it into the tiny box, the air holds tons of power. So what we do is we take that powerful air and move it into this flooring stapler. When we press the trigger, the powerful air shoots the staples at extreme speeds. Having this much power in the stapler is so important because we want to make sure that our floors don't move. So, we can use the flooring stapler and air compressor to quickly and powerfully install flooring. Well, that's it for today. I hope you enjoyed learning about construction staplers. Thanks for visiting Sam's Toolbox, and remember, keep learning and keep building.